Welcome to another edition of the Dublin Coffman Marching Band Network. If you enjoy these series, please like and subscribe so you can stay current with all of our wonderful interviews. I'm here today with a 1985 grad of Dublin High School, Ned Neidhardt. How are you, Ned?
I'm great, thanks.
Ned is one of our great graduates that has had a unique journey that he is still currently on. And I would like, Ned, for you to just kind of talk to us. You had a different journey than most of our kids. We have what we call the Emerald Campus now, where students will be 2 years at Coffman High School and then maybe go across the street to Emerald Campus. And we also have Tolles Technical Center, where a lot of our students go. Ned, would you break down for us what your journey was like for your first 2 years at Dublin High School before you went off to Fort Hayes?
Well, as a freshman, I was always involved with music through my family. My mom was a music instructor she was a music teacher personally for piano students, and then was also the choir director at our church, and would always do the Christmas plays. And so I was always sort of intrigued by performance and theater. So I was in the choir, and I was also in marching band and concert band my freshman and sophomore year. I played the French horn. And then for my junior year, my mom had suggested that I go to a performing arts high school that was in downtown Columbus called Fort Hayes. It was a vocational school, and it was a junior-senior program. Well, I auditioned there. I auditioned for all the faculties. I did instrumental music, vocal music, performing arts, and dance. And I got into all of them, but I went for the performing arts, theatrical arts section of the schooling. And there, one of our first assignments was to do a disaster drill for the local Columbus paramedics. And so we had a crash course in bloody makeup and bruises and things like that. And everything came really easy to me. And my instructor even noticed that. And I thought, oh, I could be an actor and just have makeup as a backup to help my acting career. And within 3 months, I realized I'm not a good performer. I'm not a good actor. Can't remember lines. I love doing makeup. And the more I researched it, I found out, hey, that's a career people do and are successful with it. And I told my parents, and they said, never give up, do it with all your heart and soul. And here I am. I'm still doing it 37 years later from when I first started.
Well, getting into some of your credentials here, if you don't mind me, I got on your IMDb file, and I'm reading about Captain Marvel, Star Trek, War of the Worlds, Loki, Parks and Rec, Cat in the Hat are just some of the ones that I pulled off there. Of some of those might be just days of your life, you know, where you went in and did something, and some of them might have been months of your life. So your occupation has led you into some amazing things. But before we get into some of these films and TV shows that you're currently working on, you went off to California, where you started pursuing a degree in your college degree at Cal State. Can you tell us about your experiences in college?
Yeah, I searched out. My parents wanted me to go to college. I felt it was important to get a degree, and I searched out schools. And at Cal State Long Beach, there was a professor named Bill Smith, and he had a whole makeup education in the theater arts department. He taught 13 different classes in makeup. So from corrective to aging to prosthetics to hair work, and then advanced classes of those faculties. And he was also starting a medical prosthesis major. He was trying to get that started. It never got off the ground, but I always was intrigued by that, you know, making prosthetics to help people that have lost noses or ears or other facial parts. So that sort of drew me to Long Beach. I got in, I went to school there. After my first year, I adjusted my major to a theater arts major with emphasis on makeup. And that way I was able to petition the university for certain classes that would benefit my career as a makeup artist more than just a normal theater arts major. After 4 years of that, I had met somebody from Germany, and it was always my mom took me to my first opera when I was 13. Ironically, it was Barbara of Seville. Um, and this person I met from Germany talked about working in the opera, and I had another German friend that had come from there and was telling me how the theaters over there, they're government subsidized, and so they have a full staff for the whole season, and then you get vacation pay, so you're a salaried employee. And I thought, wow, that sounds really, comfortable. You could make a career out of this and be around opera and classical music all the time. And so I went over there and auditioned. I showed them my portfolio of work I'd done to that point, and they said to work there, I'd have to be an apprentice for 3 years. In the apprenticeship, you also learned wig making and things like that because the makeup artist over there does the whole head. So I learned about hairstyling and wig making. And then after the apprenticeship, I stayed there for another 4 years. And then for me, it felt like time to come back home or come back to LA and try and keep that career going in Los Angeles again. Because of my hair work ability that I learned in Germany, I got into the makeup effects shops right away, where you're putting hair onto dead silicone bodies for a movie, or Morgan Freeman gets dropped out of a helicopter and gets skewered by a pine tree. So we had a whole Morgan Freeman dummy there, and I got to be there for his life cast. And he's an amazing actor and person. That was one of the first people that I was really thrilled to have met. But through the effects shops then and my hair work, I got put on the project of Mike Myers' Cat in the Hat that you had mentioned. And I was in charge of the build for the whole, as I called it, his full body wig. And so all the intricacies of how we were going to put it on him, we got it down. We put him in that suit in 19 minutes, and we could get him out in 7 minutes. The makeup took 3.5 hours, and there were 3 of us working on it. I mainly just took care of the hair work, and then there was a makeup artist for the left side and the right side. And they pretty much went right down the center line, and it matched beautifully every day. We put him through that makeup 78 times. His photo double we did tests on, and also he was in a lot of shots when it was far off or something like that. We put him through the makeup 128 times. But that was a groundbreaker for me, because that really put me into the on-set film world, where I'd been working in the shops before that. And then ever since then, I was able to continue working as an on-set makeup artist, getting things from a shop, or creating makeups in the trailer as we go.
So tell me, Ned, with those experiences, here you are in the early 2000s, and now it's been 20 years of doing makeup in Hollywood. What is it now that your occupation has changed? You were just telling me about getting phone calls and people reaching out to you for 3-month gigs and 6-month gigs, and there's travel involved. What is your life now in receiving work?
For the most part, I don't have to look for work anymore. I let people know, or they find out that I'm finished with the project, or they'll just call out of the blue. People I've worked with before that are starting a new project, and they'll ask if I want to be on their crew. I don't like being a department head. There's a lot of things with department heading that is outside the realm of makeup, just the organization, dealing with producers. I knee jerk sometimes too quick, and when they say we're just hemorrhaging money, I'm like, okay, no, you're not. But I can't say that in a diplomatic way. So I stay usually in the key position, which is the second or the third position, where I help a lot with the organization, but I can also focus more on the artistry and the character work that we do for the actors.
Well, I am a person who gets starstruck when I, get into a situation where I see someone famous. What is a moment in your job where you're working on something and you're loving the work, and like you mentioned, meeting Morgan Freeman, or what's a moment of your life where you just kind of sat back and you're like, wow, I'm really doing something pretty spectacular that I really enjoy?
This is a funny story. Also at Fort Hayes, there were two other gentlemen that went into makeup, and they're still doing makeup today. One of them, my good friend Douglas No, he's from Grandview, went to Fort Hayes. He department heads a lot. He's got that skill to be able to be even keel when you're just so frustrated. Well, he was doing Rob Zombie's Halloween, and we were shooting at the original Halloween house in Pasadena, South Pass, and it was 2 a.m. and we're having Jason Voorhees fall out of the window and go crashing on the ground. And we'd have to reset some of the blood and things between each takes, and then we'd go running behind a little bush that was just outside of the camera frame. And there was one take, we just looked at each other and we were like, we're working on Halloween. And this was a really a big moment for us, because in high school, we'd go to, I forget where the drive-in was, but they would show like 5 horror films in a row until the sun came up. And we'd sit there and we'd watch every single one. And we were both just two makeup horror nerds in Central Ohio. And so that was a really special moment. As far as working with the people that I've had in my chair, or I've been next to people that have been in the trailer, not necessarily I'm doing their makeup, but just being, around them was, it's hard to narrow down to just one person, because after a while you realize they're just another person. And for people that think that actors, oh, they have such a great life, it is a tough job. I always say an actor has to have some extra gene or chromosome, because to deal with some of the things they have to deal with, the rejection, how many hundreds of auditions do you do before you get that break? Then there's other actors that they slide right in and they really make a great career. But I've always found I can weed out an actor who's been through theater and all the education to know what the whole industry is about, and other actors that are just handsome and have a charisma and they just shoot in there, which I respect them too. It's a difficult job. It just seems sometimes that they're overcompensated, but it's the way the whole economy is built. And I feel that even though I'm not saving lives, we always joke we're saving lives here. When they're especially talking about hemorrhaging money, it's like, yeah, well, we got to save these lives. There is something to be said about that. It's just like during COVID and the lockdowns, TV was really the thing to do. During the Great Depression, the film and TV industry exploded at that time because people needed that release. And so I think it's a respectable industry to be in, and it shouldn't be shunned like some people do. But
well, we took a deep dive. Our family, we started watching comedy shows from beginning to end, and we'd watch 2 a night. And you got to work on Parks and Rec, which is one of our favorite shows. And again, maybe that was just something you walked in and did something small for, but it means something to our family to see that show, and to know that you were involved in that show makes it even more special.
I could talk hours about Parks and Rec. It was really an amazing time to get that job. I was working on the reshoots for Thor 2. Yeah, Thor 2, because I'd say it still hurts. Thor 2. And that's when my father had a fall, which he never recovered from. When I finished those reshoots, I went to Ohio, and he passed away. When I got back, I got a call to work on a low budget zombie film. And I said, sure. At that time I was taking every call that I got. And that was also for 2 weeks. And by the end of that, I was like, wow, just having Dad pass and being with him, and now I'm making zombies. That's the first time that the blood and guts and the zombies or whatever evil characters you make, that's when it sort of struck me differently. I tear up now thinking about it. Well, the department head on that, she said, well, I'm sorry about the rate. It was so low. And, I know you're having a hard time right now. I'm going to try and give you something better next time. Well, 2 months later, she calls me and says that her third for Parks and Recreation is going on to another show. And if I'd want to come in and first day play on Parks and Rec to fill in until she found somebody. 2 days after I had been day playing, that means just coming in for a day, filling in, or doing some special makeup or whatever. She said, would you want to have that third position for the rest of the season? I'm like, sure. And my wife said, this is the first show you've been on that you're so happy every time you come home. Sometimes it's like you just so much pressure throughout the day, you just need to decompress. And Parks and Rec was just such a delight to be on. I was there for 3 seasons in total. And they, that show, there was nothing else like it. Amy Poehler is so amazing. And that just trickled down. Everybody was happy to be there. The comedy was just insane. They would shoot that, usually 3 or 4 cameras at the same time. And they would have the scene written out. A lot of the dialogue would be written out. But then after they felt they got it, they would say, now let's do the fun run. And that's when they would always try and crack each other up. And we're behind the monitors just trying to hold in our laughter because they're just one after another. Nick Offerman is just incredibly comedic. He's one of my favorites. And also Chris Pratt, just a lot of his fun run lines. Have you ever watched the outtakes?
I've seen a couple.
Outtakes.
Yeah, I've seen a couple pop up. Yes.
Yeah, they do. I think it's on YouTube. Every season they'll have the outtakes of that season, and some of the lines that he comes up with in the fun run have made it into the show. Not always, because sometimes they're a little off color. But but yeah, that was just an amazing show to work on, and it was really the perfect timing for me. Just like I was saying, how the zombies, I just didn't feel comfortable at that moment. Then to work on a show like that, which I know Dad loved also. He was a Ron Swanson, fan.
I never thought about that connection, but you're right. That's great.
Yeah. So that was really just a high point. And then from there, I worked with that department head on 2 other TV shows and a movie. And then we just did a movie together 2 weeks ago. I got finished with a movie called The Pale Blue Eye that she was department heading, and that was in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
In cold Pittsburgh.
Oh. So tell me, Ned, if there's a student who wants to follow a path that you're on, is college the answer? Is apprenticeships the answer? What is a kid who wants to follow this vocation? What should they be looking at?
That's tough. There are a lot of makeup schools now, and there's a lot of people that go directly to those makeup schools. They start networking through those schools, but the main thing is you have to keep practicing. You learn these things in school, and I taught in a school for a while, and I'd see these people come in that just thought, well, I'm going to tell you how to do it. All of a sudden you can do it now. No, you have to work at this, and you have to know your limitations. You paint, you you glue things down, you feel out sculpting, you learn to manipulate material, really is what we do. And if you're not getting it, you keep working at it till you can get it. There's maybe 70% of our job is technical. It's like putting this material down with this utensil, and all sorts of things can be manipulated with that. And if you don't practice, so if you go to school, if you go to a university, you're sort of put in more of a structured education, because that's what university is about. It's not the real world. But you do get more of that hands-on, in the theater department, working on shows. In a lot of theater departments, you have to do each faculty. You have to do lighting. You have to do stage design. You have to do costuming. And just to have that education, even if that's not what you want to do, I see how important that was for myself. And like I said, with other actors that are out there doing really well, they've had that background in theater where they know how everything comes together. I don't know if that answered that.
That's great.
More questions.
Well, to finish this off, Ned, the journey that you've been on is not your typical one. Our students here at Coffman, they become engineers, or they become teachers, or they go into a business major at a college. But if you had a chance now to talk to yourself, here you are graduating from Dublin High School, or maybe it's your recent graduate, what would you tell yourself about the journey that you're about to go on?
Be more disciplined. I think that was one thing that I always heard in my head from Dr. Keller. To be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late. And even in college and the early years of my career, for some reason I thought I'd be able to go through a wormhole and still get there at 7 a.m. And then now I'm always early. And I have been for decades now. But when I first started out, for some reason, I was bad at my time management. And I wish I could have told myself, really look at your watch, really make sense of how time is not bendable. And it's so important. Like now on set, if I'm 5 minutes late getting to my chair to do the actor that's sitting in my chair, that's all of a sudden domino affecting everything else, because then that person has to go to the hair chair, then that person has to go get costumes. Now I've just set that whole line off by 5 minutes. Never happens, but I've seen it happen, and there's things that are unforeseen, that you get a flat tire, you're going to be late, but you learn to manipulate what the work has to be and how to problem solve to keep that from being a distraction for the rest of the work of the day.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us today. It's great to catch up. It's great to hear about all your accomplishments. And I know our students who would watch this to know that there's somebody out there who has been from Dublin, that you would be able to help them if they ever need it. And I really appreciate your help in talking with us today.
Well, live long and prosper.